Hey, everybody, it's Andy Hall. This is the Disappointed Cat Morning Show. What's today's date? April 27th. It's Tuesday, covering all kinds of crazy stories about plant-based beer, redistricting, the 6-foot indoor distance being BS, but I think we knew that to begin with. And rioters, new rioters getting arrested for doing stupid stuff. Let's do something funny before we get into everything.
Hey, what do you say we go to the bedroom for some alone time? If we both go into the bedroom, neither of us will be alone. So it's not alone time. I mean, alone time. You know, alone time. Okay, if you need some alone time, then go ahead. I'll be in here in the living room watching TV. No, I want us to go to the bedroom together. Then it's not alone time if we're together. Oh, you mean, yeah, that's what I mean.
I like their glasses, the glasses, the Coke bottle kind of glasses, and then I thought that was funny myself. Hey, Tobin Templeman, how you doing? Why was the cat disappointed? It was the weekend, and there was no disappointed cat show. I know, right? Weekends are weekends, man. And we got many days before the weekend. Jesse Bear and Brainbug, glad to see that you're here. Everyone else, you lurkers out there, I want to say hello to you too. We're going to go over some news stories, have some fun, do some progressive politicking, and all that other hilarious activities that you would come to expect here at the Disappointed Cat Morning Show. Hey, Sammy. YouTube seems to be hiding your stream. I don't know why. You know, it's easy to have a knee-jerk reaction of conspiracy theory. Had to come to my channel to find it, huh? I don't know why. It gives me the suspicions. That's what it does. It gives me suspicious. All right. So my question, what is the question I have? Oh, I don't know if you saw the link to the story. Yeah, it happened to be my story from my blog Path on Pathos, Laughing in Disbelief. But there was a roundabout, a rotary, placed in, I guess it was rural Kentucky, and all hell broke loose. People were driving clockwise, people were driving anti-clockwise. There's film of it, and it looked like pure chaos. I don't have a problem driving in a rotary. I've only gotten into one fender bender while driving in a rotary, and that was due to another driver. Did they have some alcohol on their breath? Yeah, just a bit. But I've noted that people have difficulty driving through rotaries. Even people, you know, here in the Northeast, there are a lot of rotaries. There are a lot of roundabouts. Okay, not as much as in Britain. But there are rotaries and roundabouts. But even people who've been living here all their life have trouble with rotaries and roundabouts. Was that a question? I don't know. Maybe it was just me making a comment about rotaries and roundabouts. Let's see. YouTube just sucks with notifications. Yeah, Jesse Bear. Brainbug, Laughing in Disbelief. Did you see the hotel clerk with... Oh no, getting bullied into a manic episode. You know, I remember watching Flowers for Algernon, the movie. You probably know the book. And there was a lot of bullying in that movie. I saw that when I was small. And being someone who had a visible disability. I don't have a visible disability right now, but when I was younger, I had what would be considered a visible disability. And so, yeah, I can... Why are people like that, Brainbug? Bad brains, lack of empathy, poor parenting, all of that stuff. Oh, thank you, Tobin Templeman. I appreciate the heart there. Bipolar disorder, indeed. I hear what you're saying, Brainbug. So YouTube just doesn't do reminders for my show? Well, that's nice of them. And I set up the show yesterday, too. I set up the show last night, so there was ample time for YouTube to send out reminders or to let people know I was running the show today. But it is what it is, right? It is what it is. All right. So should we do memes? I guess we should do memes, right? Let's do that. Get rid of that. Yeah. So rotaries. I can't wait for self-driving cars myself. I'm willing to give up the control over my own vehicle so that other people do not have control over their vehicles. I think that's a trade-off I can live with. All right, so let's go with let's do some memes, right? The grand opening of the Donald Trump Presidential Library. There it is. All in orange. And all the cast of characters there, too. It's a nice dream. This is just a pun. For those of you who can read music or remember stuff from music class back in school, you may know this. Stop. You're under arrest. And you see, that's arrest there, musically speaking. That symbol, that's arrest sign. I took 6 years of piano. A little bit about me. 6 years of piano. I thought that was funny, at least. And this is an example of, I don't know if this is a joke or this is really just another case of Christian persecution syndrome. But I think it's a case of Christian persecution syndrome, though I find it funny. He's practicing his prison photos for he's being arrested while preaching the true gospel of Jesus when it becomes illegal. That's unlikely to happen. Persecuted Jesus person. That's all in your head. That's just propaganda. Don on the back with no shirt. Yeah, right, Sammy Jenkins. Let's take a look at that again. With no shirt on. That's the deepest cut of all, to tell you the truth. Oh, that's horrible. That is horrible. What's up, KCA, Randy? Glad to see that you're here. You know, Jesse Bear, that is true. They want to be victims. People like this guy here. They want to be martyred. Probably don't have a lot going on in their personal life. And sure, why not? Why not get into trouble? People. All right. So let's see what else is going on in the chat. I refer to it as imagined Christian persecution syndrome. I like that. I like that, KCA Randy. Persecution porn, indeed. Sammy Jenkins. Persecution porn right there. Oh, no. There you go. There's Sammy Jenkins. I'm running a little slow this morning. I'm down, like, I guess is another musical term reference here. I'm half a beat behind everything else. I had a bad night's sleep last night. Even worse than usual, so. When all else fails, blame your problems on Satan. Of course. Well, you know what, Jesse Bear? It really is insulting people that are actually victimized. The concept of this gentleman here, I don't know his backstory, but he's, you know, he's part of the upper caste of American society here. White dude, you know, is he really persecuted? Is he really persecuted? No. But it is, you're right, insulting to people who are actually victimized. I don't think any cop is going to be, you know, kneeling on his neck for 9 minutes. I don't think he's going to get shot in the back by any cop. I don't think any loan officer is going to say, hey, you can't get any money because of the way you look. All right. Oh, this is interesting. My work is giving an incentive for getting vaxxed, yet they have a religious exemption option to get the cash too. Now that is fascinating, Brainbug. That is fascinating. They have a religious exemption from the vaccine, but yet they still get cash. All right. You want to do news? Let's do news. How about plant-based beer? I have to tell you something. Being a news geek, I was watching the McLaughlin Report, no longer on, because John McLaughlin rest his fictitious soul, is no longer with us. But every Friday night, and I think 7 o'clock on the local PBS affiliate here in the Boston area, was the McLaughlin Report. John McLaughlin would have 2 conservatives. He'd have 2 liberals talking about the current events. And one of those people he would occasionally have on is Larry Kudlow. Kudlow, is that his name? I believe it's Larry Kudlow. And as you may know, Larry Kudlow was financial advisor for President Trump, now Citizen Trump. And I always hated Larry Kudlow on the McLaughlin Report. I always thought the man made no sense. Just greed in a suit. That's why I thought of Larry Kudlow. And, over the last couple of days, he has proven my assertion that he's just an idiot. Let's go to the story. Oh, this guy, ex-Trump advisor, mocked for claiming Biden pushing, get this, plant-based beer. Larry Kudlow grumbles that Biden's climate policies would force Americans to drink plant-based beer instead of meat-based. And I want to let you know, I really try to read these articles with the kind of contempt in certain places that they so deserve. Let's look at the horrors of plant-based beer. The Senate Majority Leader, Chuck Schumer, has joined a flood of social media users gleefully trolling Larry Kudlow after the former economic advisor to Donald Trump complained that Joe Biden wanted Americans to drink plant-based beer. Kudlow made the indignant claim on his Fox Business show on Friday, saying Biden's climate policies and attempt to slash emissions would force Americans to stop eating meat, stop eating poultry and fish, seafood, eggs, dairy, and animal-based fats. Okay, got that? This is more of Larry Kudlow just running his mouth. Okay, got that? No burgers on 4th of July. No steaks on the barbecue. So get ready. You can throw back a plant-based beer with your grilled Brussels sprouts and wave your American flag. It just makes you wonder whether or not anyone does any copy editing, any editing whatsoever of what he reads on his show. Beer, for those of you who don't know how beer is made, the article designed, all the links are in the description. In case anyone here doesn't know how beer is made, the author of the article had to go get specific about that beer is based on plants. Beer is typically made from grains, hops, and yeast, not steak, sausages, or chops. Amid a blizzard of lacerating social media send-ups, the New York Times columnist Paul Krugman offered a sober analysis of what Kudlow was up to. I'm just going to say this like a one big sigh if I can, like Paul Krugman. So this seems to be the latest right-wing attempt to smear Biden onomics, he wrote on Saturday. I got to take another deep breath. I'm sorry. So I can do one big sigh. There is, of course, nothing about eliminating meat in Biden's plans. So this is like the imaginary mobs that burned our cities to the ground. That's right. Remember that there was going to be cul-de-sacs burned, suburban areas burned by BLM and Antifa in case Biden became president. Wow. Plant-based beer. That's fear of a Biden economics, right? This is the best. This is the best that Republicans have right now. Hey, what's up, Paul? Phil, I'm sorry, Phil. Good to see you. Sammy. Beer is made from fermented baby back ribs. Man does not live on Scotch alone. Glad to see you, imaginary god. Brainbug. Tobin Templeman. I only hunt hops with a bow and arrow like my ancestors. Glad to see you do it morally. And you use the whole hops, too. You use the whole hops. Not just a part of the hops and throw the rest of the hops away. I've made beer. Like many other white dudes, I have made beer before. I cleaned out each and every individual bottle, which was the biggest pain in the butt, sanitizing the bottles. The actual brewing process was relatively easy. I never at any point put in any brisket, any bacon, any sausages, nothing like that. I know, right? Beer. Tobin. Isn't beer already plant-based? Yes. But yeah, you got to wonder what Larry Kudlow. I mean, have you had beer? Have you tasted it? Oh, Dr. Mordecai, I like cow-based beer. Sounds interesting. All right. So, hey, Paul Camish, how you doing? I drink the whole bottle. Very nice. Bacon-flavored beer. All right. So that was Larry Kudlow just running his mouth, warning in case Biden's environmental plans go into place, go into action, then we'll all be drinking plant-based beer. Yeah. Oh, Jordan Peterson. Don't get me. See, people know what get me going. And for Jordan Peterson, that guy. All right, what's the next story? Redistricting. A fairly sexy topic here. We've gone from plant-based beer to redistricting. Let's look at the big board. The big board. These are the states losing House seats. These are the states gaining House seats. You can see Texas +2. No, nothing is lost from New England. And being a New Englander, I'm not unhappy about that. There was a possibility of Rhode Island. I'm probably jumping ahead to what's actually in the story. But Rhode Island was at the cusp of losing one, but it keeps its 2 seats. New York State lost its 1 seat by only 89 people. But it continues the trend of people moving down to the west, where there's lots of water, right? So that's a great place to live. And in the south, where, yeah, that's a fantastic place. I mean, the good thing about migration, and I'm just keeping this up, and I'm just going to ramble as you all take a look at the chart. The horrible, one of the side effects of global climate change, or the climate crisis, is that people will be moving from California. And that migration will be turning other states purple or blue. And I think we see some of that now, at least in terms of, I mean, you don't see a lot of climate migration right now. This is typically people looking to move to cheaper spots to live, right? I was in North Carolina. All right. I was in North Carolina over the weekend, and a lot of people moving down there from the north. All right, so let's look at the story itself. Links in the description. The U.S. Census Bureau announced Monday that the total population of the U.S. has topped 331 million people, making the country's second slowest population growth in U.S. history. Amid that, Texas will gain 2 seats in the redistricting process, the results found. Additionally, Colorado, Florida, Montana, North Carolina, and Oregon will each gain 1 seat in Congress. California, Illinois, Michigan, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia will all lose congressional seats ahead of the 2022 midterm elections. The Census Bureau announced in February that the numbers, which would normally come out by April 1st, would be delayed. The Bureau cited the coronavirus pandemic and the difficulty the virus created for those collecting census data and the reason for the delay. The process was also complicated by the Trump administration's efforts to exclude non-citizens when seats in Congress were apportioned, a decision that landed the Bureau and the Republican administration in lengthy legal fights. It's hard to believe that the Trump administration fouled things up for their own narrow self-interests. In the majority of states, all right, so here, for those of you who are international, who don't understand, most Americans don't know either. Some states, a precious few, have non or bipartisan groups to help redistrict a state so that these districts aren't gerrymandered. In other words, that they're divided up evenly or fairly, right? That doesn't happen in most states. most states, whoever runs the legislature gets to carve up the state in terms of districts. And that's how you have heavily red districts and heavily blue districts. Because, I'm just jumping down a bit, because Republicans have been more successful at winning state legislatures in recent years, the party has almost total control over the process in a number of key states like Texas and Florida. If Republicans embark on cutting up increasingly diverse populations in the suburbs around some of the nation's largest cities, combining them with more reliably Republican voters in exurbs and rural areas, the party will open themselves up to racial gerrymandering claims. The Dems are prepared to fight any attempts. Good luck, Democrats. I'm skeptical of their ability to stop the Texas legislature or the Florida legislature from carving up their states. Some expectations from the census were off. Some believe that Texas would gain 3 seats, not 2, while others believe states like Arizona, which did not gain a seat, would add a House district. Experts also expected Minnesota and Rhode Island to lose a seat. Neither did. Some of the figures were remarkably close. So it talks about 89 people. You only had to count 89 more people in New York for it to keep its seat. But they never found the 89 people, so off goes that seat. Probably to Texas. Oh, let's see. What's going on here in the chat? Oh, Trumpers hate the state because you went blue. Well, good for you, Jesse Bear. Glad that you're doing the work, the good work, helping turn your state blue. Let's see. I like I don't know. Okay, so let's go to is this halftime show? Well, I'm going to do a halftime show, right? And for those of you who are just watching, who are new here, we do the after party after show, which is an open room in which people can click in and we can talk about anything you want. So the link to the after party after show, in case you do want to come on and talk, is in the description. And let's do halftime show.
Hey, I'm sick of people who say that they think their relationship has a chance. The continents could barely keep it together for the kids, and you think that you and Dylan have a chance? Get the fuck out of here with your arrogant ass. Goodbye.
A little bit of harsh wisdom in the form of a joke. If the continents couldn't hold it together, what's your chance of holding it together? This is a funny guy. So what? Okay. So this has been a theme somewhat on this channel about, and I've mentioned it off and on, about how the 6-foot indoor distance is bullshit. In other words, if you just stand 6 feet away from the other person in an inside environment, then you're not going to be getting coronavirus, or your chances are much lower to get coronavirus. Dr. David Kyle Johnson was on this channel a year ago talking about masks and the efficacy of masks. Yes, masks work. You know what doesn't work? This bullshit 6-foot number, 6-foot distance number. He said that that information, that number, 6 feet distance while indoors, was created during the 30s, maybe even the 20s, like the 1920s and the 1930s, of course. And so new research says, guess what? The 6-foot distance between you and another person indoors, that's not doing the job. Right from MIT. Staying 6 feet apart indoors does almost nothing to stop the spread of COVID-19, MIT study finds. I'm just going to say this. I'm not going inside to eat or to hang out. I'm fully vaccinated unless I absolutely need to. This summer is going to be the summer of beer gardens for Andy and my girlfriend. I don't think she's in the chat today, working. This is going to be the summer of beer gardens. And I only go inside now. You know, I've been making more grocery store trips. I walked through a store the other day, a Target. But am I hanging out for an extended period of time? Certainly not. Why? Because staying 6 feet apart indoors does almost nothing to stop the spread of COVID-19. Let's see what the science says. The widely used 6-foot rule does little to prevent COVID-19 exposure indoors. MIT researchers found the risk of exposure from an infected person is similar at 6 feet and 60 feet, one researcher said. Let me say that again. The risk of exposure from an infected person while indoors, that's in brackets, is similar at 6 feet and 60 feet, one researcher said. The study said mask wearing, ventilation, and what a space is used for were bigger variables. 6 feet and 60 feet. Same chance of getting COVID. The widely used rule of staying 6 feet away from others does little to affect the risk of exposure to COVID-19 in indoor spaces, according to a new study out of MIT. According to MIT researchers, the rule based on an outdated understanding of how the coronavirus moves in closed spaces. They said other variables, like the number of people in a space, whether they are wearing masks, what they are doing, and the level of ventilation were much more important. It's interesting. Secular Dave, West Coast, I don't know if he's in the chat, in one of the after shows mentioned that in some of the Las Vegas casinos where there was heavy smoking back in the day, the air was designed to be sucked up, right? That was a kind of ventilation system. Instead of going from left to right, let's say, or just being swirled around, the ventilation was meant to suck the smoke up. That's the kind of ventilation you want. All right, let's see what's going on here. The 6-foot rule is used in various forms around the world. The CDC advises 6 feet of separation indoors and outdoors, while in the UK, the figure is 2 meters. In much of Europe, the figure is 1 meter, which has been recommended as a minimum distance by the World Health Organization. But while such distancing rules are easy to remember and purport to suit any situation, the new study says they are bullshit. And I'm just throwing bullshit in because this is something that we all should have known. And the reason why is I think they really pushed the 6-foot rule to make us feel safer. That's what it was. It's like this whole fetish about cleaning that you see in stores now. That's just theater. Let's go on. It says a better way of controlling indoor exposure is to do individual calculations based on variables for that space. In some cases, the exposure level might be the same at 6 feet as in 60 feet, one of the study authors has said. Martin Bezant and John Bush, both MIT professors in applied mathematics, developed a formula to estimate how long it would take for a person to hit dangerous levels of exposure from one infected person entering a room. This is pretty freaking interesting. The calculation is a more sophisticated version of the traffic light system previously proposed by MIT. It takes into account the number of people in the room, the size of the space, what they are doing, whether masks are being worn, and what kind of ventilation is in place. Using this calculation, it could be that the level of exposure is high in some places, even if people are more than 6 feet away. It could also be lower than expected. So let's see what the big differences are using the data here. In their calculation, MIT researchers took into account the effect of people in the room. Yeah, we just went through that. In a calm environment, okay. The MIT researchers took into account the effect of having people in the room and their behavior on how long the virus would stay suspended in the air. In a calm environment, these particles would slowly drift to the ground, the researchers said in their study. But in an environment in which the air is moving around, but in an environment in which the air is moving around the room and people are talking, eating, singing, and sneezing, the drops can be suspended in the airflow and mixed through the room longer. For an example, if an infected person walks into a classroom hosting 25 people, none wearing masks and all speaking, everyone would be at risk from the coronavirus within 36 minutes, the website says. It doesn't matter if they follow the 6-foot rule. Let me say that again. If an infected person walks into a classroom hosting 25 people, none wearing masks and all speaking, everyone would be at risk within 36 minutes. By contrast, if all 25 people in the room were wearing a mask, the air would be safe to breathe for 20 hours. That's the power of masks right there. It goes from 36 minutes to 20 hours. And get this, if they were all singing without a mask, they'd be at risk from the virus within 3 minutes. So if you go to church, everyone has their mask off, everyone's singing, you would be at risk for getting coronavirus within 3 minutes. 3 minutes. If you're in a classroom, then that's an approximation, of course, depending on how large the sanctuary is. But in a classroom environment, if everyone's wearing a mask, you're safe for hours. No one's wearing a mask. You could be susceptible to COVID-19 within 36 minutes. So 6 foot distance, not as important as ventilation and having a mask. Check out the chat. Well, that's what it is. That's right. Security and safety theory, just like the airport security. Yeah, I really get angry. You know what I get angry at? Because I haven't talked about how much I've gotten angry or what I get angry at yet today, are those commercials with well-meaning celebrities wanting to make you feel safe about entering stores again, about here's the clean, safe symbol here on the storefront to make you know we clean. We make our people clean here a lot, and that really doesn't do a whole lot for your safety. But they're cleaning, and it makes you feel safe in your brain if you're not thinking. Jesus. I know here they all switch kids to 3 feet with masks. You know, this the devil in details with that, Jesse Beer, is whether or not kids actually keep their masks on, right? Yeah, once again, Dr. David Kyle Johnson came on the show about a year ago talking about the 6 foot distance being bullshit. But the efficacy of masks are the thing to do. Let's see, just checking out the chat. John Hudson, throw back to the earlier story. The Republicans will carve Texas up as they likely do the Longhorn to make beer. Indeed, sir. Indeed. Well, that's what it is. Singing. Singing is a super spreader activity. If you want to get everyone in your congregation sick, just start singing. Wow. All right. So what's the next story? What have we gone over so far? We've gone through meat-based beer. Not really. We went over Larry Kudlow talking of warning Republicans that Democrats want you to drink plant-based beer. That was one of our stories. The census and redistricting, and how the 6 foot distance for being indoors, you know, the 6 foot distance, you'll be safe if you're only 6 foot distant away from the next person, is just bullshit. And the reason why I'm just saying it, you know, and here it is. Here's my Cassandra moment too. I think those of us who have been in, you know, dysfunctional if your family was dysfunctional when you were growing up, like mine was, you have this, you can easily get this Cassandra complex when you say to yourself, wow, I can see what's going to go wrong. I can see what's going to happen. And you have nothing to control. You have little to no control over it. And this whole 6 foot thing just brings that up with me. It's like, yeah, I knew this 6 foot distance thing was bullshit. And because it was based on research from the 1920s, 1930s. And now it's taken us this long into the pandemic for research to come out saying, new research coming out to saying, yeah, it's bullshit. Hey, B, what's up? Hope you're doing well. Jesse says, the kids are really great at with the masks. Oh, okay, that's good. They adjusted quickly and can go to the empty hall and make a mask break if they need it. And that's good to hear. Well, you know what, you know, I mean, this, when you're in the pocket, when you're in trouble, you know, there's like this, we've talked about this before, about the fog of war, not being able to see what's going on, not being able to read the current data coming in properly to make decisions. I don't think there's been any peer-reviewed studies about how well kids keep masks on. Maybe, and here's I'm just thinking about this, maybe in East Asia, where mask wearing has been more the norm during times of, you know, flu season and such. But I would like to see a study at some point about how well kids keep masks on. Oh, John Hudson. Yeah. Yeah. You got to have a mosh pit in your church. I believe there are probably some hipster churches that do stuff like that. Simply secular. Dave, we were just talking about you, Dave, to tell you the truth. Just talking about you in a very positive way. Just got over the story about how the 6-foot indoor rule for COVID is bullshit. All right. What are we doing? Are we going to do how crazy are Republicans? I'm glad you asked. I'm going to share with you a video about Republicans still hoping. My God, Republicans that are still hoping to change the election from November. They are still hoping for Trump to win, and they're counting votes in Arizona. So we're going to take a look at this little bit here.
Let's head to Arizona, where Republicans are recounting 2 million ballots by hand in Maricopa County, nearly 6 months after the presidential election. And just a reminder, President Biden beat former President Trump in the state by 10,000 votes. Vaughn Hilliard is checking in with voters in Phoenix. Vaughn, what in the world is going on with this audit? Who is counting the ballots? And my most important question, who is paying for this noise?
Good question, Stephanie, because most of those we don't have answers to. We actually have no idea who are actually these hand counters. We don't know who's paying for this audit. In short, this was the Republican-led state Senate that subpoenaed Maricopa County's 2.1 million ballots from November. And you'll recall Maricopa County, which makes up about 60% of the electorate in Arizona, it flipped in favor of Joe Biden in 2020. And Arizona flipped as a state as a whole. And it is the state Senate that actually hired an outside consultancy firm called, quote, Cyber Ninjas. This is a group where we don't know exactly where they're getting their funding. We don't know who they've hired to count these ballots, but we know the head of the group actually spread election conspiracies suggesting that Donald Trump actually won the election in November. That's who's running the show and who has their hands on these 2.1 million ballots. A lot of serious questions here as this unfolds here this week, Stephanie.
And OAN is watching this. Also, President Biden about to reach, we've been talking about it all hour, 100 days this week. For voters in that state, the majority of them who believe this was legitimate, how do they think he's doing?
Exactly. This is more than recounting of 2020. As you said, OAN is the only organization that actually has access to watch this unfold here. And that is why I wanted to go and reach out to some of these Republicans who ultimately voted for Joe Biden last election, because there's not only a governor's race in 2022, but Mark Kelly is up for his Senate reelection again this upcoming November of 2022. And that's why these Republicans that helped turn the state in favor of Joe Biden, where do they see this administration? Where do they see this Democratic-led Congress going? And I went this weekend to go and meet up with Trudy and Larry Vroom. Larry voted for Republican for president every single election until Joe Biden. I said, even with more liberal policy initiatives being put forward by this president, what do you think of him now? Well, take a listen.
I have tremendous empathy for him and the problems that he's facing. I think he's doing a great job. We've got somebody serious, somebody who has moral character and ethics, trying to solve some of the major problems we're facing in this country.
Larry shook his head at the suggestion of this audit, quote, audit taking place. And he actually said the insurrection on January 6th was his coup de grace. I said, would you still like to consider yourself a Republican, Larry? And he gave a little chuckle and said, you know, I may be considering myself a, quote, conservative Democrat.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel.
So I thought, yes. So Republicans, they have mounted up like Don Quixote to go joust at windmills, basically. And it was hilarious. And you're right, Jesse Bear, right? The spoiler news guys. It looks like he's trying so hard not to laugh while he's reporting. He knows when he refers to OAN, he goes, organization. The air quotes. Man, you just got to take the L. Just take the loss, man. That's all you got to do. You just got to take the loss and move on. But Republicans, they're just holding on in Arizona. Holding on. Doing a hand count by cyber ninjas. You know, when you really need to win the election, you call in the cyber ninjas. Well, that's right. Andy tells everyone who was late that. It gets my watch time up. This is true. This is true. So, yeah. A hilarious story about how Republicans are still trying to win the election, or some Republicans are trying to win the election, while other Republicans are like, maybe the Republican Party is just a bunch of dickbags, right? Maybe maybe I don't want to be a Republican. Maybe I can deal with being a quote unquote conservative Democrat. I don't know. Not a big fan of conservative Democrats, but I'll take a conservative Democrat over a Republican most of the time. All right, last story. I hope everyone gets their Schadenfreude on right now. A Texas couple who deleted Facebook posts bragging about being at the Capitol riot was arrested for assaulting police officers, FBI says. Once again, there's just more and more of these stories trickling in over the days and weeks and months of the FBI hunting down people via social media. There's one guy we saw last week who was busted by the FBI because they were using facial recognition programs, artificial intelligence, and they caught his face on his girlfriend's Instagram. These people right here, busted in Texas. Facebook records in the criminal complaint show Mark and Jaleese Middleton, the FBI said. So here they are, posted right there with the rioters. And if you can see the status, this is their status. We are amongst our kind. That's, yeah. So what did these nice people do? Let's take a look here. A Texas couple has been charged with assaulting police officers during the Capitol siege. A criminal complaint says the two were captured on police body cameras striking officers. In since deleted posts, the Middletons bragged about their participation on Facebook. What is it about having a freaking phone that turns people into idiots? I'll tell you that. We've talked about gun rights here, and about just having a gun in the house makes you more likely to commit suicide. Just having a gun in the house, right? I think having a phone on you just increases your chances of just doing something stupid and selfieing yourself while doing something stupid. A couple from North Texas was arrested on Wednesday on charges related to the siege at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th when a mob of President Donald Trump supporters breached the building to disrupt the certification of the election. In a criminal complaint, the FBI said Mark and Jaleese Middleton of Forestburg were captured on footage from body cameras worn by police that showed them assaulting two police department officers who were guarding the Capitol. They had to have been, so they were close, beating on the cops. They are facing charges that include assaulting police officers and remaining on restricted grounds, though they did not appear to have entered the building. The footage shows the police officers struggling against rioters who are pushing against the barricade and trying to break the police line, ignoring commands from officers to step back, the complaint did. These people, right? Just the faces of what's wrong in America. Busted because they were just, caught on body camera, and of course, their own social media posts confirming the fact that they were at the scene of the crime. Exactly, Dr. Mordecai, just dumbasses. Oh yeah, our kind, future inmates, indeed, Jesse Bear. Simply secular Dave. Cyber Ninjas, the board game. It's like Clue, but the person with the most conspiracy guesses wins. I like that. I like that. There should be really a game. I want to spin off this. There should be a game where you get to be Donald Trump searching for votes in the country, right? I only need a few million in Georgia. Can you give me a few million? 30,000. I forget the number. They have always been idiots. Oh yeah, I'm sure that these people here have not been upstanding citizens for most of their lives. I'm sure the people at the Cracker Barrel or wherever they go look at them when they walk in through the doors and just sigh. I like the idea of this, of the looking for lost votes, if the Republican game of looking for lost, but it could be a good board game, to tell you the truth. Let's see. So what did we go over? Looks like quality citizens. Indeed, only the best amongst the Trump only has the best people. All right, let's look at the stories that we covered. Plant-based beer, redistricting due to the census. Texas gets 2 seats. California loses 1. We went over it. You can look at the map. If you go back, you can look at the map. Links are in the description below, of course, to the original stories. The 6-foot distance, to protect yourself from COVID-19 turns out to be mostly bullshit. What's more important is wearing a mask and ventilation. And of course, the last story that we just went over, rioters getting busted for doing rioting stuff. Their Facebook posts not helping them out whatsoever. Are we going to let's take a look at the video. Let's take a look at the video before we tie everything up. It's a cat. I've never seen a cat do that. Just hanging out on the pool table. Maybe the cat likes pool. I don't know. But yeah, everyone. I guess we're done a little bit earlier than usual, right? So if you want to meet me at the after party, after show, I guess the link is in the description. It's the next video up on this channel. That's at 10 o'clock. It goes from 10 to 11 today. If you want to pop in and talk, that'd be great. Oh, your cats chase everything. I'll have to see someone forcing me to have a plant-based beer. Indeed, Phil Lister. How did that cat not chase the ball, Jesse Bear? I don't understand. I don't understand that either. All right, so that's it. That's it for today's show. We are going to be doing the whole crazy show again tomorrow. Who knows what kind of wacky stories we're going to have. Let's do the thank you video for my members and supporters and patrons. And, let's do that. And then I'll see you at 10 o'clock, everyone.